Good morning. We acknowledge that the land on which we meet is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee, Anishinaabe, Attawandaron, and Mississauga peoples, and is now home to the Munsee Delaware Nation, Chippewas of the Thames First Nation, and Oneida Nation of the Thames. I have been blessed to call St. Thomas home for over 15 years. I'm originally from Nicaragua, and after a childhood marked by revolution, civil war, and exile, my family found a home in Canada. I own and operate 3 small businesses in this great city. Mr. Blome, I am certain that your decision to choose St. Thomas as the home of this battery plant will be among the best ones you've ever made. This is a business community that is bursting with talent, with determination, with grit, and some of the best humans live in this community. This plant will change the lives and the businesses of so many of us, but I assure you that it's also going to change yours. Thank you so much. Now I'm going to introduce Mr. Sean Dyke, the CEO of the Economic Development Corporation, and an overall okay guy. He told me to say that.
Thank you very much. We will do our best. Thank you. Thank you very much. Sounds like there's an inside joke there somewhere.
I'll take okay. Thanks, Maria. Maria, like me, is not actually originally from St. Thomas, but we've both been drawn in by this community, by its resiliency, by its strength, by its passion. It's an amazing place to work, it's an amazing place to run a business, and it's an amazing place to raise a family. But I'm the St. Thomas sales guy. And after 19 years in this role, I've noticed I spend a lot of time talking about the past and the present and how it provides the foundation for why so many families have chosen to plant their roots here, and why so many incredible companies have selected St. Thomas as their location of choice. Today, here at the amazing Elgin County Railway Museum, we're surrounded by that history. We're reminded of how the railways kick-started the growth of this community so long ago, and we're standing next to many of the people who are working on our present success as we lay the track for the future, with details of an announcement that will dramatically shift the direction of where this entire region is going. This has been a huge undertaking. It's taken a lot of time and energy, and there truly isn't enough time to offer enough thanks to everybody who participate in it. But I'm going to give it a shot, because without them, we wouldn't be here today. I want to thank Prime Minister Trudeau and Premier Ford, along with their teams, for your political will and leadership on this project, and for the trust you put in St. Thomas as you worked with PowerCo SE and Volkswagen to tell them the story of Canada and Ontario. I want to thank Invest in Canada, Invest Ontario, and the team at the Ontario Ministry of Economic Development, Job Creation and Trade. 3 of them are here today. Thank you to Tom, Carrie, and Hui for all of your help on this. It's amazing how much time and energy goes into something like this. It's time away from their families, time at night, time on weekends, and we really appreciate the support. I want to thank our EDC Board of Directors and our Mayor and Council for sharing our vision for what this community can be. I want to thank Kapil and the London Economic Development Corporation for agreeing with me early on that we're all better off if we work together at a regional level. And I want to thank my team here at the St. Thomas Economic Development Corporation for their support over the last few years in working towards this project. There's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes here, and this isn't the only thing that we're working on, but it's certainly the biggest thing we ever will. I want to thank the City of St. Thomas's leadership team and the staff, with special thanks to Sandra and Justin, who have dedicated, again, so much of their time to making this a reality. We couldn't do it without people like that. There's a lot of communities this wouldn't work in, but this one has the right people. 15 years ago, many of this media was in St. Thomas covering what was the Great Recession of 2008 and 2009, when we lost over 5,000 manufacturing jobs in this community. Since then, we have this amazing, thriving business community that's brought this back to the forefront, and it's made St. Thomas something that we can all be proud of. So I want to thank them. I want to thank those that stuck by us in that time. They stood with us in this community, and we promoted it to their friends and their contacts to say St. Thomas is the place to be. And that's how we got to where we are today. So lastly, I want to thank the board and the team at PowerCo SE and at Volkswagen, who spent countless times flying back and forth from Germany, working with us on all the details to make sure that this site works. They found that we are the right fit for them, and I guarantee you over this time that we've learned that they're the right fit for us. What this company is going to bring to our community and the dedication that they've already shown is outstanding. And I know that people here haven't had a chance to really experience that yet, but at firsthand I can say that this is the future of our community. And the thriving community we have right now, one of the fastest growing in Ontario, is only going to get better. Coming years are going to mark some of the most prosperous times this city has ever seen, and the region as a whole. And I'm very pleased to offer thanks to Mr. Blome and his team, and to welcome to the podium for the first time to really introduce himself to St. Thomas. Thank you, Mr. Blome.
Thank you, Sean. I can say you are far beyond an all-okay man. Extraordinary, yeah, great job. And thank you, Prime Minister Trudeau. Thank you, Minister Champagne, Premier Ford. Thank you, Minister Fedeli, and Major Preston. Thank you very much. And I also thank everybody here, being here today, for being here and celebrating with us. It's our great honor to start this future high-tech project today in St. Thomas. St. Thomas was capital for trains, and Volkswagen is a capital for automotive, so that fits very much together. We are especially honored by you, Prime Minister Trudeau, that you made it to this event. This shows the relevance for this project for Canada, plus the outstanding support we got by you and your government. Congratulations from our side for outperforming the competition and bringing this gigafactory to St. Thomas. That wasn't easy. And furthermore, I want to thank all of you for welcoming us here in Canada, in Ontario, and in St. Thomas. Our company and its people stand for high-tech sustainability, responsibility for employees and society. Most of the executive board is here today, and let me say on our behalf, we share the same values than Canada. And let me now introduce PowerCo for a minute. Ladies and gentlemen, Volkswagen AG founded PowerCo in Germany about a year ago. It's headquartered in Salzgitter, Lower Saxony. Our mission is to take the battery cell, the heart of the electric vehicle, and the core competence for future mobility into our own hands. What drives us is speed and execution. The market is growing fast, so execution is key of success. We decided 3 gigafactories already, one in Salzgitter, one in Spain, Segundo, and today we are here in Canada to celebrate for the 3rd one in St. Thomas. Our development team qualifies our product, the unified cells, as we speak. This is the future cutting-edge technology for battery cells. On top of that, we made partnerships along the supply chain. We even made a joint venture with a cathode material supplier Umicore to secure the business and manage the supply chain. PowerCo is on its way to become a global battery player with strong roots in Europe and also now in Canada, in North America. All that is supported by our mother company, the Volkswagen AG, a leading automotive manufacturer worldwide. And this is now our master plan for St. Thomas. It will be our first gigafactory in North America, and it has a great potential to become the biggest one, our biggest one in the world. Thank you. Gigafactory St. Thomas will have 6 production blocks with a potential of up to 90 gigawatt hours, what is enough for 1 million electric vehicles a year. The dimensions are enormous in all respect. We invest 7 billion Canadian dollar by 2030. The cell factory will span an area of 210 football fields. I understood soccer is famous here too, so 210 football soccer fields. The complete park even sums up to 850 football fields. And we will create up to 3,000 new qualified and highly attractive jobs over here. And I'm glad the students are here to welcome us too. We count on you. Gigafactory St. Thomas will play a key role in Volkswagen Group's ambitious growth plan with North America. So we see that the products are working in North America, and with more cars, of course, there's a demand of more battery cells. Volkswagen, Audi and Scout aim to introduce more than 25 new EV models by 2030, and most of them will be equipped with battery cells made in St. Thomas. I'm pretty sure it will serve as an accelerator for future jobs, and this will develop the economy. Ladies and gentlemen, finally, I would like to thank all key players for making this happen. Prime Minister Trudeau, you have a world-class team here. Congratulations to that. Minister Champagne, I've seen a lot of ministers in my life, ministers for energy. You are the minister with high energy. I think you have even more energy than the plant we built. Premier Doug Ford and Minister Fedeli, you had a lot of skin in the game. You wanted to make this. You had all under control, and this was key of success. Thank you very much for your support. Now I'd like to get to Mayor Joe Preston. All I can say, this is can-do attitude. Yeah? You even had the solution when we were even considering or thinking about the question we want to raise up. So thank you very much. Thank you very much. And of course, there was a big team behind this. I can say it was small, but very motivated. They worked 24/7, fighting to get the decision for St. Thomas. So thanks also to the working team, to the team around these gentlemen. That made the difference. And now I have the privilege to welcome Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau. Prime Minister, the stage is yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Frank. Good morning, everyone. I have a list of people to thank here. And they're all wearing suits. and I will get to that in a second, but they're not really the people we need to thank for being here today. I mean, yes, they worked very hard, and we all put up a lot of money, as I'm sure we'll be talking about. But let's be really clear about what's happening here today. Other parts of the world, including our neighbors to the south, were willing to put up an awful lot of money to get this project there. One of the 3 gigafactories that Volkswagen is making for batteries to build the future around the world, the first site outside of Europe to build the future of automotive excellence. Everyone wanted this. So yes, we put up a lot of money that's going to come back in investments in economic activity very quickly. But that wasn't what put St. Thomas over the top. For all the great work the suits around me did, the reason we are here is because of them. Is because the workers and the citizens of St. Thomas. What we are building here is more than just a gigaplant, a gigafactory to make batteries that'll help run the world's cars in the coming decades. It's an understanding that the future is going to be strong and bright for people in St. Thomas and people right across the country. It's an understanding that when Volkswagen makes a decision to invest in a place, they're not just looking at the dollars and the cheapest cost they can possibly have to build a factory. They're looking at the culture. They're looking at the lives of the communities that are going to be built up around this factory. They're looking at how they then turn to sell these batteries of the world as the best made batteries in the world with the highest environmental responsibility and the best labor footprint and the partnership with Indigenous peoples that we're seeing here that are doing things the right way, because that's the way the world is going. And in all those things, Canada has the advantage because of Canadians ourselves. Because of the workers who've always taken pride, even through the difficult years here in St. Thomas, in working hard and building a better future. People who know how to deliver on exactly what the world is looking for. High quality, reliable, hard work by people who are happy and open and engaged with the world. So if we are here today, it is because of the people of St. Thomas and the workers of Ontario and workers right across this country that have shown Volkswagen and other investors from around the world that this is the place to build the future together. So thank you. But of course, a lot of other people worked really hard to make this happen too. First of all, François-Philippe, who never stops working to get big deals done for Canada. It is such a pleasure to know that you are out there fighting for Canadian workers every single day to create those opportunities as the world looks to Canada as a place for solution. Our outstanding Ontario team, some of whom are here today, Eric, Ariel, Peter, Francesco, Valerie, and Tim, thank you very much for all the work you guys are doing. And Premier Ford, Minister Fedeli, Doug, it is so good to be here with you. It seems like we are making more and more of these announcements together because we understand the extraordinary advantage that workers here in Ontario and across Canada have to offer to the world. That we are seeing how stepping up, working together, creates that vision for the future that Canadians, in a time of anxiety, and Ontarians worried about what's going on everywhere around the world, can suddenly see, wow, there's a bright future for us, and we can see ourselves in it. That's what Ontarians are feeling every time we stand up together. That's what Canadians are seeing. There is a great future for Canada in an uncertain world, and we are building it when we work together. I want to recognize Karen Vecchio, local MP. Karen, I'm glad to see you here, and it's great today that you and I, at least, agree on how much it matters to invest in Canadian workers. I'll be direct and honest. You have some work to do to convince your leader, Pierre Poilievre, who thinks this investment is a waste of money. But I'll get to that in a little moment. But I know you are here for the right reasons, Karen, and you know how good this is for St. Thomas. I have to also recognize, as Frank did, and as I'm sure Doug will, Joe Preston, who, as mayor here, has been a tireless defender of St. Thomas and a practical problem solver that not only could solve the problems right now that Volkswagen was worried about, but demonstrate the attitude of people here of saying, whatever it is, we can overcome the challenge. We can figure this out. We can build this future together. Joe, you embody that in extraordinary ways. Thanks. And I will say it's more fun to be here on the same side of things as you than from past years when we sat across each other in the House of Commons. Yeah. I also want to thank Warden Ketchabah and all the officials and local representatives. I want to thank the Indigenous leadership that is here today, that is a partner in how we build this forward. And of course, I need to thank Frank from Volkswagen and Consul General Schulze and the entire team from Volkswagen. You are all here because you see that we can build a partnership that is going to be good for people in Germany, good for people in Canada, and especially good for people around the world who want high quality, reliable supplies of great things to build our future. And that's why we're here today. There's a lot of people here, but it shows how much this project matters that we're all here together. For generations, St. Thomas, just like so many other communities in Ontario, has been an auto town. From assembly plants to material suppliers to local restaurants where workers go for lunch. And thank you, Maria, for being here to represent this community and show the impact that this is going to have on the larger community. Made in Canada, here in St. Thomas, always meant good jobs and a strong community. So I don't have to tell anyone here why it matters that Canada secured this deal to build a massive electric vehicle battery factory in St. Thomas. With this historic project, we're not just bringing back manufacturing. We're bringing back a strong, thriving economy for this community, and we're delivering a national anchor for Canada's electric vehicle supply chain. The Volkswagen EV battery plant is a generational investment in St. Thomas and in all of Ontario and Canada. This project alone will create up to 3,000 direct jobs and up to 30,000 indirect jobs. In other words, this means good careers for years to come in St. Thomas and great middle-class jobs right across Ontario and the rest of Canada. I think of Gordon and Murphy, two of the young men with us this morning doing an auto skills program who may one day work at this battery plant or at a local electric vehicle factory. Or Maria, who just shared her story. And this project will mean more business for her cafe and for restaurant and cafe owners like her. Or the workers, far from here at critical mineral plants I've met across the country, delivering the raw materials that will power these electric vehicle batteries. L'usine de batterie pour véhicules électriques de Volkswagen est un investissement qui va bénéficier à plusieurs générations ici à St. Thomas, mais aussi dans tout l'Ontario et le reste du Canada. À lui seul, ce projet va permettre de créer jusqu'à 3 000 emplois directs et jusqu'à 30 000 emplois indirects. À l'échelle du pays, l'usine de Saint-Thomas va être un point d'ancrage dans la chaîne d'approvisionnement des véhicules électriques et elle représente une avancée historique pour les travailleurs de partout au pays. But like I said from the beginning, this deal is about workers. It's why our government, alongside the government of Ontario, invested to bring this project to Canada. It isn't called a gigafactory for nothing. It will create thousands upon thousands of great jobs. It'll be worth over $200 billion to the Canadian economy over the coming decades. It will provide millions upon millions of batteries to power Canada's auto industry, which is the engine, one of the engines of our clean economy. And the economic impact of this project will be equal to the value of government investment in less than 5 years. That's the math that matters. And on that note, I want to recognize again the partnership of Premier Ford. By working together, we can deliver big things. Because Made in Canada is about so much more than just building stuff here. It's about building a strong future for the middle class, a strong future for their kids. Au cours de la dernière année et demie, on a attiré plein de projets en Ontario et au Canada. Je pense par exemple à l'usine de GM à Ingersoll ou à l'usine de Stellantis à Windsor ou l'usine de minéraux critiques de Rio Tinto au Québec qui produit les éléments au cœur de la technologie propre. Ces ententes représentent des dizaines de milliers d'emplois et des dizaines de milliards de dollars. Et avec le budget 2023, on fait un autre pas vers l'avant en proposant des investissements dans la fabrication de technologies propres, de véhicules électriques et plus encore. Alors aux politiciens qui disent qu'on doit encore choisir entre l'environnement et l'économie, je vous dis de regarder bien ce que les travailleurs canadiens sont en train d'accomplir. On peut et on va continuer de livrer des bons emplois pour la classe moyenne et de l'air propre en même temps. Unbelievably, there are still those who continue to say that there is a choice to be made between protecting the environment and growing the economy. Here, today, no one should continue to doubt that building a strong economy with great jobs for the middle class must go hand in hand with clean air and a brighter future for this country. And yet some still do. Like I said, Pierre Poilievre, the leader of the Conservative Party of Canada, no relation to the Progressive Conservatives of Ontario, came out, sorry, that was a joke, you can chuckle, came out and said that this project was a waste of money. Well, Karen, you have your work cut out for you. Because confident countries invest in their workers. Confident countries invest in their future. And that's exactly what we're doing. And that is exactly what we've been doing over these past 8 years. The number of times people have said to me and criticized our government over the past years for being too focused on the environment, for being too focused on workers and inclusion and things like child care at $10 a day, or dental care, or a Canada Child Benefit, or a public health care system. People have criticized me for being serious about building partnerships and reconciliation with Indigenous peoples. People who criticize us for all those things say, well, you really should be talking about the economy instead. Well, I'm sorry. A cleaner environment, a stronger, happier, healthier, diverse workforce, partnerships with Indigenous peoples that make sure we can get big projects done right across the country in respect. That is how we build the strong economy of the future. That is what we are showing right here today. Because yes, we had to put money on the table to show Volkswagen we were serious about wanting them to come here and to be partners in building this incredible, great opportunity for Canadian workers and for Canada. But if it hadn't been for the quality of Canadian workers, for things like $10 childcare, things like dental care, things like public health care, things like Canada Child benefits and supports for the middle class, tax breaks for the middle class, while we raise them on the wealthiest 1%. If we didn't have those strong, stable, growing middle class communities to anchor on, Volkswagen wouldn't have been as interested. If we hadn't demonstrated over the past 8 years leadership, global leadership, on putting a price on pollution, on investing in clean energy, in knowing that climate change is real and it provides challenges but also opportunities, maybe Volkswagen wouldn't have seen the fit on investing in Canada instead of anywhere else. If we hadn't demonstrated the understanding that investing in stronger communities, in a better future, cannot be done through cuts, but has to be done through investments, we might not be here today. And this is the choice that Canadians get to make every single day. And it's the choice Canadians are going to be called on to make in a couple of years when we have the next federal election. What kind of future do we want to build? Do we want to see all the anxieties that we have and the challenges around the world and say, this is an opportunity for Canada to step up? Or do we want to throw up our hands and say, oh, it's just too tough out there? The world is too complicated, Canada is broken, we're never going to be able to succeed in this, let's get really mad instead. Sorry, anger doesn't deliver this plant in St. Thomas. Confidence, hard work, optimism, and a willingness to invest in Canadians and in the brightest possible future for all. That's why we're here today, and that's the work we're going to continue doing as a government with our friends and partners to build a better future for all Canadians. This is why we're here today. Alors, encore une fois, merci de m'avoir accueilli ici aujourd'hui. Je suis maintenant très heureux de céder la parole à mon ami, le Premier ministre Doug Ford. Doug, thank you again for your partnership, your leadership. Looking forward to continuing to do lots more together. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Prime Minister. And I'll tell you, folks, I was so thrilled to be here in St. Thomas. I couldn't even sleep last night, to be honest with you. It was, not that I sleep anyways, but I'm here with my #1 salesperson, Minister Fedeli, and Minister McNaughton as well. You know, both of them have done an incredible job. Obviously on economic development, Minister Fedeli, and thank you, Monty, for the skilled trades work that you do with the private sector unions. My Minister, Greg Rickford, which is the best Indigenous Affairs Minister I've ever seen in this province. And I always say one of the smartest business minds, hometown boy, MPP Flack. Rob, great to see you, and thank you for everything you've done. And it's great to see my friend, Minister Champagne. I call him the Energizer Bunny. I don't know what you take in the morning, that cereal, but you got to give me some of that stuff. Oh, boy. But to celebrate the largest auto investment in our country's history, and to welcome the world's largest automaker to Ontario, and Prime Minister, I want to thank you, as well as I mentioned, Minister Champagne. Now, I deal with 444 mayors and wardens throughout this province, and we have some great mayors and great wardens. But I'll tell you, there's a special guy that has a special spot in my heart, Mayor Joe Preston. Mayor, thank you for everything you've done to make this deal happen. And, you know, I'll tell you, they got to get a bronze statue for the mayor outside. When you retire, like one of those big bronze with a cigar in your mouth, you look like Winston Churchill. And the entire team at St. Thomas for working with us on this deal. It's a team effort. And friends, this was a real team effort from everyone. all of us coming together, working side by side, including the federal government, the province, St. Thomas, our industry partners and our Indigenous partners, which means so much to us. And speaking of our Indigenous partners, I want to thank Chief Brissett, Chief Cornelius, and Chief Duckworth for joining us today. I also want to give a big welcome to Pierre and Frank. There you are, Frank. You have an incredible team, along with Sebastian and Jorg. What a powerhouse team! And Sebastian, I'll tell you, Frank. I know. I'm looking at Frank. Sebastian's behind me. It was his birthday yesterday, actually. We gave him a little cake, and the guy has about a sliver that big. So, anyways, happy birthday! But Sebastian, he worked his back off on this deal. I know your whole team did. But man, he was in Toronto, just going back and forth between St. Thomas and here. So he's really amazing. You probably have a bright future in politics too, Sebastian, don't worry. Okay, and everyone from the Volkswagen PowerCo SE, thank you for choosing Ontario to build your first overseas gigafactory and for your tremendous confidence in our province. Our workers and our growing electric vehicle and battery supply chain. Friends, Volkswagen's $7 billion investment is a tremendous win for Canada, for Ontario, and the incredible people here at St. Thomas and the surrounding areas. I know, Mayor, when I drove through this beautiful town, I thought, man, this is going to be bustling. It's going to be happening. And Maria, you're going to have lineups out your door, and I'm going to be one of them. Save me a muffin while you're there. And when complete, their new world-class factory will be about 370 acres in size. I do my quick math. I think an acre is 43,000. It works out to be 16 million square feet. It's absolutely staggering. The way I can put this into perspective, I know, Frank, you're using football and soccer fields. You know, you think of, have you ever went by one of those big, massive Amazon warehouses that are about 1 million square feet? Multiply that by 16 times. That's how big this place is going to be. And we'll anchor a brand new 1,500-acre industrial park. That's big enough to hold over 700,000 Volkswagen Golfs. It's absolutely outstanding. It will be one of the largest industrial parks in all of North America, and it will be right here in St. Thomas. I'm pleased to announce that our government is supporting VW's vote of confidence in Ontario with $500 million in direct support. We're also investing hundreds of millions of dollars to build out local infrastructure like roads and highways and utility systems, as well as expand police and fire. And I want to thank our police and fire here. We love them. We love our emergency services, love our paramedics as well. To support the growth of this region, and this growth will be explosive. I always tell all the mayors around the province, you know, if you have extra land, we have companies coming in here by the droves. As my comms people said, we have more economic announcements than we do, and we have days in April. So with the thanks to the Prime Minister and his team and local municipality of St. Thomas, this is what happens. When we work collaboratively together, we put all the political stripes aside, like who cares about the political stripes? This is about the people, and you get the infrastructure. You get the water, you get the sewer, you get the energy all coming in. So that's really great news. These are investments that will benefit the entire community now and for generations to come. Volkswagen's new battery plant will create up to, as you heard from the Prime Minister, these are staggering numbers, by the way, 3,000 direct jobs with another 30,000 indirect jobs throughout Ontario and right across our great country. And it's expected to generate more than $270 million in annual provincial tax revenue. That's tax revenue that will help pay for social services like healthcare and education, or important investments like skills training. That's exciting for Monty because he's a champion of skills training, all to support our growing province. Friends, our government has a plan to be a world leader in the electric vehicle and battery manufacturing revolution, and we're seeing a revolution right here in Ontario. We're creating the conditions to attract new investments into the sector. I always say we attract industries by cutting red tape and regulations, taking the burden off companies to a tune of $8 billion a year to make ourselves more competitive against our great friends south of the border, against our friends over in Europe and Asia and South America. Keeping taxes low, building a skilled workforce, and making sure Ontario's power supply remains clean, reliable, and cost competitive. We're building an electric vehicle and a battery supply chain, connecting critical minerals in Northern Ontario and clean steel makers in Hamilton and Sault Ste. Marie, which we partnered with the federal government as well, to change over from coal to electric arc furnaces, taking 2 million cars off the road, to automakers and battery manufacturers right across Ontario. The cars of the future will be made right here in Ontario from start to finish, from mines to manufacturing, by Ontario workers. And my friends, our plan is working. In the past 2.5 years alone, our province has secured, with the cooperation with municipalities and the federal government, $24 billion in new investments for vehicle and battery production from 5 of the 6 largest automakers in the world, now including VW. That's great. And I can tell you, we're not done yet. We have the industry expertise, including people like Flavio Volpe. Flavio, great to see you. Reed Kadri, good to see you, Reed, who are here today. We have the best universities and colleges anywhere in the entire world. And thank you to the students there. It's absolutely fantastic. You know, our number one selling feature when Vic and I go out on our sales trips are the people. And I think the Prime Minister touched on it. We have the best people anywhere, and I know I was bragging to the people at Volkswagen about the students here in Ontario and the colleges and universities. I'll tell you, they're going to have a bright future at this plant. And I want to give a big shout out to Peter Devlin and his team from Fanshawe College, who are also in the audience, as I was mentioning. Good to see you. Friends, with great partners, with great companies like Volkswagen, we're revitalizing our auto sector and making Ontario an auto manufacturing powerhouse in North America and around the world. Volkswagen, welcome to Ontario. Thank you to everyone for joining us today, and may God bless the people of Ontario. Thank you. Now, thank you. Now I'm going to turn it over to Minister Champagne, Minister of Energizer Bunny. He is a champion. Go get him. Watch this guy go. He's amazing.
Wow, a lot of emotion. I'd like to say we want to stop there, but that would not be like me usually. You know, I have a bit more to say, but what a success. Good morning, everyone. Bonjour tout le monde. Évidemment, c'est avec beaucoup d'émotion qu'on se retrouve ici aujourd'hui avec Saint-Thomas, avec toute la famille des gens de Saint-Thomas, mais aussi de Volkswagen. C'est un grand jour pour nos travailleurs, c'est un grand jour pour l'industrie automobile, c'est un grand jour aussi pour le Canada. Je dirais que c'est un coup de circuit à tous les égards. I don't need to tell anybody here today that St. Thomas knows one thing or two about the auto sector. And I know that today is a special day for many, many of you. And I can tell you that we fought hard, really, really hard to make sure that we bring a plant back here in St. Thomas. And I'd like to say to everyone, we won. And not only it was well worth it, but as the Prime Minister said in Premier Fort, in fact, this is going to be the single largest manufacturing plant in the country, nothing less. This is truly our moment to shine. But Prime Minister, I want everyone to know here that we are not here by chance today. It is because of your vision, Prime Minister, to make Canada a leader of the green economy of the future and giving the country the means of its ambition that we can celebrate here today, and I want to recognize that, Prime Minister. Premier Ford, it's always good to see you. It seems that when we're together, it's all about jobs and growth, so let's make sure that we set more dates in our calendar in April. To our colleagues, Arek, Peter, Valerie, Ariel, Tim, and Francesco, thank you, dear colleagues, to have been with us along the way. It takes a team to succeed, and you've been part of the team to bring a success here in St. Thomas. And we heard you, and I think we could say today that we delivered. To Karen Vecchio, the local MP, it's great to see you with us, Karen, to celebrate this great investment for the folks of St. Thomas. To Vic Fedeli and the colleagues from the province, Vic, I could not think of a better partner, I would say, to bring transformational investment to this country, and there's more to come. Mayor Preston, Warden, local official chiefs, if you want to see what $1 billion smile looks like, just look at the mayor this morning. That's what $1 billion smile looks like. To Frank, to Sebastian, to York, my dear friends of PowerCo, thank you for your vision, thank you for your leadership, and thank you for your passion. And Pierre, thank you for being there for us, because I remember one evening, I think we were in Wolfsburg and there was a band playing, but I remember someone saying, Canada is the logical choice. And today we have delivered. So thank you for your support and leadership. And Frank, there's many more years to come together, and I appreciate what you've done. And to all the people who are here from St. Thomas, the Prime Minister said it, it's really thanks to your talent, to your expertise and know-how that we can attract investment like this. This is your victory, and I hope you're going to hone it, because it's thanks to you that we can celebrate here this morning. I must make a confession to you all this morning. I think if you had asked folks a year ago if they ever imagined a day that one of the world's leading car manufacturers, in this case Volkswagen, would build the first and largest overseas gigafactory right here in St. Thomas, I think you would have gotten a lot of funny looks. I can tell you I got a number of them. And here we are today to celebrate a generational investment in Canada's battery ecosystem here in St. Thomas, to celebrate the first new car manufacturer to set up shop in this country in 35 years, and the first ever European manufacturer to come to Canada. And this manufacturer is going to come here to produce batteries, like the Prime Minister say, for up to 1 million electric vehicles per year. That's the size of the success that we're celebrating today, ladies and gentlemen. And I don't know about you, but I call that a big win, a big, big win. And in fact, Premier, we have all thrown numbers, but my number about that, this is a win of the size of 378 football fields. That's the size of the win that we're celebrating today. Mais cet investissement-là d'aujourd'hui de Volkswagen, c'est d'abord avant tout un vote de confiance énorme envers le Canada. C'est un vote de confiance dans l'avenir de notre secteur automobile. Et c'est un vote de confiance envers les quelques 3000 employés qui vont œuvrer au sein de Volkswagen et les 30 000 personnes qui vont travailler à travers le pays dans la chaîne d'approvisionnement de Volkswagen. And over the long term, the Prime Minister said it, it's going to be hundreds of billions of dollars in economic value for Canada for decades and decades to come. And I'll give you a secret. I remember in that famous dinner with Oliver Blome, the group CEO of Volkswagen. He said, Minister, we're not coming in Canada for 10 years. We're not coming here for 20 years. We're not coming here for 30 years. We're coming here for 100 years. That's the size of what we're celebrating today. Mais le premier ministre l'a dit aujourd'hui, ce n'est pas une question d'argent, ce n'est pas une question de chiffres. Indeed, today's announcement is much more than about numbers. This is about putting our vision into action. This is about ambition. This is about possibilities. This is about Canada leading when it comes to electric vehicles, when it comes to the green economy of the 21st century. So let's seize the moment, let's be ambitious, and let's continue to lead together. Thank you, everyone. And now, thank you, everyone. And now it's my distinct pleasure to introduce my dear friend, Vic Fedeli, who has been a partner at every step of the way. Vic, the floor is yours, my friend.
I hate following you. I said to Francois, I hate following you. Welcome to my colleague and Minister Rickford and MPP Flack. What a great day for Volkswagen, a great day for Ontario, and what a great day for St. Thomas and the whole region. Everyone here is part of Team Canada, the team that worked together to hear Volkswagen announce a $7 billion investment in their first overseas EV battery manufacturing plant. Now, Frank, you need to know your Volkswagen team is made up of some of the best people we have ever met. Thoughtful, helpful, and truly dedicated. And any deal really is about all those relationships. And I will say we all got to know each other on a business level, but really on a human level. It was an exciting time. But don't get me wrong, Frank. Your team were tough negotiators, some of the toughest we ever met. But they were fair, they were detail-oriented, and they were really honest brokers. And it's been a sincere pleasure working with the incredible team from Volkswagen. Francois, from our very first meeting in Toronto a year ago this month, I think we knew that Ontario had everything that Volkswagen was looking for. We talked there about the EV ecosystem we were building right here in Ontario, from the critical minerals in the north to the manufacturing might in the south. Flavio, Rad, that was, remember that meeting? That was such a beautiful, beautiful day. You could see the Volkswagen team being drawn into the Ontario story. Clean, green electricity, coal-free green steel, the #2 automaker in North America, the only jurisdiction in North America with 5 automakers, 700 parts companies, 500 tool and die and mold makers, 300 connected and autonomous companies. Volkswagen saw all of that. But as you've heard from everybody, what they really saw was our people. They recognized we already have the talent it takes to turn out world-class, award-winning production. When we met in Germany last October, then we all pushed harder. We showed how Ontario lowered the cost of doing business by $8 billion annually, as you heard the Premier say, and that we produce 65,000 STEM grads every year. We have 24 colleges and universities that offer automotive programs. On their site visits throughout all of Ontario, they saw that they would be in a space that understands cars, and we've had manufacturing here for over 100 years. And by choosing Ontario would be right in the heart of the EV revolution that Premier Ford mentioned. And we felt encouraged about where we were in the deal when Volkswagen effectively moved into our offices on Yonge Street in January. Felt pretty good back then. And I will say, Frank, the hook was in, the real hook was in getting Sebastian hooked on Wendy's. I will tell you that right now. You really get to know a lot about people when you're encamped with them, and many times, as you heard, it was for 7 days a week. And both teams, they really deserve a huge thank you for that dedication and for coming out as friends and not foes. And I think you and I talked about that this morning, Frank, that you come out together. But I got to tell you, on 4 of those trips, they met with Premier Ford in his Queen's Park office, and that's where they got a real feel of the personal touch. They got a real feel for what it would be like to do business here in Ontario. And I'll say it again, there's no better closer on a deal than Premier Doug Ford. So thank you again. Thank you again to Volkswagen, but as the dinner last night showed us, the real work begins now. Today's announcement is the culmination of a lot of work, a lot of shoe leather, a lot of sweat equity by a lot of partners, especially our federal partners. Thank you, François. It's always a treat to work with you. One of those great partners is the Mayor of St. Thomas, or how he's now known, the Mayor who starts every answer with, yes, now what's the question? Mayor Joe Preston.
What a day, what a month, what a place to be. As you can see where we are today, you can see the history of St. Thomas, the way St. Thomas grew up with hard-working people working railways. And then with the cars behind us, it's a reminiscence of the St. Thomas that grew up making cars and parts for cars. Well, I want you all to just close your eyes for a little bit and think of the future. What this has just done for the future of St. Thomas in Southern Ontario and the rest of Canada. What we've been able to accomplish with, I'll get to thanking everybody in a minute, but think of the future. Think of the young people back here and what the future now looks like for opportunity for employment for them. Even new families recently coming to St. Thomas have a brighter area to look at. As the Mayor of St. Thomas, I want to thank, first of all, my council. I am blessed as a mayor to have I have said it over and over. I've got the dream team as far as the council goes. They're really hardworking and they really let me say what I want. And that some of this stuff, sometimes it mixes together. I want to thank both the Prime Minister and the Premier and all of the teams today. These things don't happen if we don't work together. It just doesn't happen if we don't work together. And adding the municipal politics into the mix makes it even more special. It's where the rubber hits the road, and so we're really pleased for that today. To thank some other local politicians, our county council and all of the mayors across Elgin County, and certainly the Mayor of London is with us here today. This is a group. The success is big enough for us all to share. The future is bright for the sun to shine on all of Ontario, all of Canada. It just is. To my friends at Volkswagen, my new friends and family at Volkswagen, it's become just extra special. You build relationships so you can build results. Has been kind of how I've always looked at the issues. It was great building those first relationships, and we've got lots of friends now. Now they have to come over for dinner a lot, and we'll make it all work. It has just been so special to work with all of the people. Now let me talk about the staff of the City of St. Thomas, a small and mighty group. None of this could have happened if we didn't also have the vision that Council put forward about the growth of St. Thomas and certainly in the job sector. And so this was how we started down this path, and then a lot more conversation with the Premier and Minister Fedeli on how big can this be? What can we attract? Who can we find? Well, we found some great friends in Volkswagen and PowerCo SE, and we are outstandingly proud of what the staff here in St. Thomas has been done, led by our Economic Development Corporation. But there wasn't a director in the City Hall that didn't have a great deal of work on the side of their desk that had to do with this project, and yet still kept the city running, and we're really proud of what they've been able to do. Look, yes. I've been wearing this smile for almost a month. Right? Or maybe over them. I'm lost now, right? I've really found it's tough to go to sleep at night when you're smiling. Right? But we're getting used to it now. We've spent a lot of weeks practicing the sleep with a smile situation. Your teeth wake up really dry, but other than that, you can sit there and envision the future. What else is next? St. Thomas is on a roll and has a really bright future. This has guaranteed the future of St. Thomas for decades to come, for lifetimes to come. But we're not done yet. St. Thomas has a lot more to go. So I want to thank you all for coming out today and hearing the great story of what can happen when people work together and come up with a great idea and plan. Thank you all.
Merci à tous nos orateurs. Thank you to all of our speakers. We will now proceed to question and answer period. Nous allons procéder à une période de questions des médias. Nous avons 20 minutes pour les questions et on va commencer avec Radio-Canada.
Monsieur le Premier ministre, bonjour. Déborah Saint-Victor de Radio-Canada Toronto. J'ai 2 questions. Voici la première. S'il vous plaît, répondre en français et en anglais pour nous. Un tribunal français vient de déclarer Hassan Diab coupable de l'attentat de la rue Copernic. Quelle est votre réaction et qu'allez-vous faire si le gouvernement français vous demande une extradition?
Évidemment, on va regarder attentivement la décision et on va regarder quelles seront les prochaines étapes pour le gouvernement de la France, mais nous prenons très au sérieux l'importance de protéger les citoyens canadiens et de respecter tous leurs droits. Obviously, we will look carefully at next steps, at what the French government chooses to do, what the French tribunals choose to do, but we will always be there to stand up for Canadians and their rights.
Merci.
Next question.
Hi, question for the Prime Minister. Adrian Gobriel with CTV National News. Excuse my voice. When it comes to, we're curious about the contract and what it specifies with Volkswagen when it comes to the use of union labor employees. We know in the States, that's a big part of the negotiations with the labor unions.
One of the things that makes Volkswagen a good fit for Canada is that both of us have commitments to ensure that the middle class is strong, that workers get paid good wages, and that you grow bright futures, not just for the corporate bottom line, but for the communities linked to it and for the customers that want to be part of the way things are done positively. So on that basis, we actually moved forward in our most recent budget with a number of tax credits and investments that are drawing in investments for the future, whether it be on hydrogen, whether it be on clean energy, whether it be on carbon capture and storage, whether it be on critical minerals, that build in labor expectations that people have to hit certain marks in terms of good paying jobs in order to move forward. Now, questions about labor, we will always be there to support organized labor, but the most important thing is that Canadians across this country get good, well-paying jobs with which they can support their families and build the future. That's exactly one of the reasons why we're so excited about partnering with Volkswagen here in St. Thomas.
Next question.
Good morning, Megan Fitzpatrick from CBC News. This is a question for you, Prime Minister, for my colleagues in our Parliament Hill Bureau. Will your government settle with the 24 former Canadian embassy contractors in Afghanistan who are being hunted down by the Taliban rather than drag out a court battle while their lives are in danger?
All Canadians were extremely saddened to see, after decades of engagement and sacrifice by Canadians and friends from around the world, the advances we had fought for in democracy and opportunity for women and girls in Afghanistan were turned back with the Taliban taking back control. That's why Canada continues to step up in welcoming people fleeing Afghanistan with a target of 40,000 people to be welcomed from there. We are among the world-leading countries in stepping up to support people in Afghanistan, but we also know there's lots more to do, and we will continue to do that.
Hello, Mike Drolet with Global National News. Sorry, this is really small and short here. This is a question for Mr. Trudeau and Mr. Ford. There's lots of talk about how big this is going to be and talking about how transformative it's going to be for this area. But we have a major labor shortage in Canada right now. The trades, we've heard a lot of talk about how they're desperate for people. And if this city is going to be bustling, where are you going to put them? Because we need housing, and housing is a huge issue. So my question is, what assurances have you given to VW that we can make this work on a federal and a provincial level and even a municipal level?
We are facing labor shortages around the world right now. That is part of the legacy of the global pandemic and of the transformation of industries and opportunities for people. That is a challenge that everywhere around the world investors and manufacturers are looking at. One of the reasons people are looking positively at Canada is compared to our other G7 partners, Canada shows stronger population growth over the coming years than all of the others. And that's because despite years of democracies and countries turning inwards and being worried about immigration, Canadians have always known that welcoming in people from around the world is how you build stronger communities, how you build stronger success, how you create more jobs for everyone across this country. So we continue to have strong immigration, and a few times I've had that question of, well, you're continuing with great strong immigration growth for this country, aren't you worried about the housing crisis? Of course, we'll continue to be there to invest in housing, but one of the challenges we're facing in building enough housing for Canadians is labor shortages in the construction industry, and that's where careful targeted use of immigration is actually a counter to this. So when Volkswagen looks at the optimism they have for future growth and plans and great reliable workers, I know that we're going to see a lot of great jobs and a lot of people coming from surrounding areas and perhaps from across Ontario to come be part of the success here in St. Thomas. I know that there is a brighter future for so many jobs and so many Canadians right across the country. But Doug, turn it over to you.
Thank you. Well, thanks so much, and that was a great question. You know, for the last couple of years, I've been asking the Prime Minister, we need more people, and he fulfilled a promise. Many promises he's fulfilled to me personally. But there's 445,000 people that landed in Ontario from Stats Canada that came out last month. There's a reason they're coming to Ontario. The reason they're coming because there's great economic opportunities. It's the greatest place, I believe, in the world to live and work and raise a family. Just think, before we took office, this province lost 300,000 jobs. We have seen 640,000 more jobs than we did 4.5 years ago because we created the climate and the conditions for companies to come here with the support of municipalities again and the federal government and ourselves. So I'm totally confident that we're going to have the skilled workforce. Through the great work our Minister of Labour has done, Monty McNaughton, we put in $1.4 billion of training centres across Ontario to make sure that we get the skilled workers that we need, not only to build the factories, but also to build the homes. And that's, again, the reason I put Bill 23 in. We can't have municipalities. I know Joe won't be doing this here in St. Thomas. I'm sure the Mayor of London won't be doing this. But it can't take 5 years to get a permit to build a subdivision. It should take 6 months to get that permit. And then we're going to get the shovels in the ground and start building, because if we take longer, cost goes up on labor, cost goes up on materials. That's why we have Bill 23. We're going to continue building our goal of 1.5 million homes, 1.5 million over the next 10 years. And I just want to go back to one more stat. So you hear about some growth areas. You hear about Texas and Florida, one of the fastest growing states, of 1,000 people a day moving into both those states. That's 365,000 people going into their states. Put that into perspective. With Texas about 34 million, Florida with 22 million, we're 15.5 million. We had 445,000 people show up to our province. We are the fastest growing jurisdiction in North America. We're leading job creation, economic growth in North America. So that's good news. People, come to St. Thomas, bring your families to St. Thomas, and people that can build homes, come to St. Thomas, and we're going to get homes built. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to the next question.
Hi, Anita Balakrishnan from The Logic. Thanks for taking my question. This might be Minister Champagne or the Prime Minister. So the federal support for this plant is reportedly between $8 billion and $13 billion over 10 years. What accounts for that wide range, and how do you budget for a range that wide?
I know a lot, and I will turn to François-Philippe in a second, but there's a lot of people looking at the size of this investment and just wanting to make sure that it's the right investment for Canada. Well, first of all, it's part of a strategic vision and a decision we've taken to invest in the battery and automaker supply chain in Canada. A few years ago, Canada was ranked number 6 in the world in battery manufacturing. We're now number 2, and that's even before this announcement. What we've been able to do is draw in investments that are looking at the entire scope of what Canada has to offer. Yes, critical minerals, processing those minerals, turning them into batteries, turning them into cars and products the world needs. Doing that all in a place with high environmental standards, great labor standards and livable communities, partnerships with Indigenous peoples to get these projects done quicker and fairer. These are the things that the world is looking for when we're looking for reliable supply chains, particularly given the unreliability that we've seen from Russia and other dictatorships. People know that Canada is that partner that you can count on, as Volkswagen has said, for the next 100 years. To build this stronger future. So yes, this investment is a big one, but it is an anchor in the supply chains we're building, and like we've said, we're expecting the economic impact of the investment to be covered within 5 years. That's the number that matters. But François-Philippe, in terms of the scale and the range?
Yeah. Well, I think the Prime Minister said it very well. 5. That's the number that matters to Canadians, because that's the number of years it's going to take for the economic impact of these investments to equal the value of our investment. But just so for Canadians to be very clear, before the Canadian government is providing support on production, first Volkswagen needs to build the $7 billion plant. Then after, when the plant is built, we are going to provide production support if and when they have produced and sold a battery. And this is subject to the conditions of the IRA, and it's over 10 years. So that's the frame we have today. The real number for Canadians, I would say, Prime Minister said it, it's 5 years. That's a good investment in any form, because that's how you're getting back your money for the Government of Canada. Merci.
Le ministre Champagne, est-ce que vous pouvez répéter en français, s'il vous plaît?
Ah, je m'excuse. Okay. Oui, ben, excusez-moi, je ne vous avais pas vu en français. Écoutez, le chiffre qui est important pour les Canadiens et les Canadiennes aujourd'hui, c'est 5. 5 ans, c'est ce qu'on appelle le retour sur l'investissement, c'est-à-dire que c'est le nombre d'années que ça va prendre pour que l'impact économique de cet investissement-là soit égal à l'investissement qu'on a fait du côté du gouvernement du Canada. Mais ce qui est important de comprendre pour les gens, c'est que d'abord et avant tout, Volkswagen doit construire l'usine qui est de 7 milliards. Ensuite de ça, quand ils auront fait l'usine, le support qu'on va leur donner pour la production, c'est sur la base de batteries qui sont produites et vendues. Donc ça vient après, et c'est sujet évidemment aux conditions de l'Inflation Reduction Act aux États-Unis. Et deuxièmement, c'est fait sur 10 ans. Mais vraiment, le chiffre qui est important pour les Canadiens, c'est de savoir qu'en 5 ans, c'est le retour sur l'investissement d'aujourd'hui.
Merci beaucoup. Next question.
I have a question for Mr. Blome, Volkswagen. Hi, Jessica Smith with the Canadian Press. There's a lot of talk about the size of the federal subsidies that are coming your way, and the money race between different countries to lure you here. I was wondering, is the money the final factor that sealed this deal?
Of course, you have to be competitive finally. If your product is not competitive in technology or in cost, you have no future for the company. But you get a competitive set in other countries too. So finally, that is the first entry, but the decision is based on, I would say, more than 200 different topics we work out. And important is that we get the right workforce here. We think this is the case. We strongly believe that this is attractive. We are welcome here. And with that, this is the right place to be, and we made the decision with a lot of other things, but to summarize it, that's the key to get there. Of course, there has to be a demand in the country. America is growing fast in EVs. Our products work. Our cars are sold good, and with that, we need a battery company, a battery supply chain here. But finally, it's all that, and it's not only subsidies, of course. This is not sustainable, yeah? But in the first step, it's important to make a decision. If the product in the first step is not competitive in costs, of course, there's no way to make a decision on that one.
Thank you. Next question.
Amy Simon, Global News Radio London. I have a question for the Prime Minister. You spoke about how the U.S. is using incentives such as the U.S. Inflation Reduction Act to lure companies like VW. So what sort of precedent does today's announcement set for future negotiations with other automakers, and what does it mean for recent deals your government has already signed with other automakers?
Well, first of all, like I said, this was a very important but strategic decision. The IRA in the United States is hundreds of billions of dollars of support to investments to draw people into the United States and to draw investors into the United States. The Canadian economy can't go toe-to-toe with that on a global overall scale. But we can be and we have been very strategic about where we want to step up and compete directly and make sure that we get through the door so that people look at, okay, the cost structure is competitive, what's the right decision? And then if we get to that point, as we've seen here in St. Thomas, Canada wins. It's the workers, it's the environmental leadership over the past 8 years, when the U.S. has been back and forth and is now having to catch up because President Biden is serious in a way that the previous president was not on fighting climate change. We've been doing this for 8 years while the Americans have been back and forth on it. We've been investing in the middle class with things like the Canada Child Benefit that have lifted millions of people out of poverty and given a real boost to middle-class Canadians. $10 a day childcare that we've moving forward with Doug, and with 6 out of 10 jurisdictions across the country already being there at $10 a day. Moving forward on things like dental care and investments in healthcare that are going to deliver for Canadians across the country. Livable communities. The work that we're doing, the partnership with Indigenous peoples. These are all part of the offer that Canada and Canadian communities get to make. Yes, we've had to step up strategically and say, yes, we're competitive. But as we draw in a small number of key strategic anchor investments, of which Volkswagen is the shining example, then the ecosystem continues to build. Canadian companies and startups grow around to supply parts and to be part of the community of manufacturing and production that we're creating here in Ontario and right across the country. Yes, there's a global competition to bring in the best investments for jobs and for the future. But at the same time, as much as there is friendly competition between European countries and the United States and Canada and others, we're all on the same side. The experience of the pandemic, the experience of Russia's illegal invasion of Ukraine has shown the need for reliable supply chains that we can count on. And the fact that dictatorships and autocracies around the world are using their supply chains as weapons of political influence and chaos has reminded people that we need to be making things here in our countries. That's why it's so incredibly exciting to see this supply chain building up across Canada. And this investment here is not just an example of it. It's part of the case we're making of why there is such a bright future for Canadians. Je pense qu'il faut comprendre qu'avec les Américains qui ont mis des centaines de milliards de dollars en offre pour attirer des investissements, que le Canada ne peut pas compétitionner au même niveau de façon globale, compréhensive. Nous nous devons de choisir de façon stratégique quels seront les investissements que nous avons besoin pour compétitionner, pour avoir notre part de la croissance et des bons emplois qui vont venir avec la transformation de nos économies. Et c'est exactement pourquoi on trouvait que non seulement c'était bien avec Volkswagen, que Volkswagen trouve un fit avec nous, mais nous, on trouvait un fit avec Volkswagen, avec leur approche, avec leur vision pour la croissance durable et responsable pour des décennies. Alors, c'est des choix stratégiques qu'on est en train de faire, mais l'argent qu'on met sur la table permet à une compagnie comme Volkswagen pour dire, OK, l'argent est dans le même ordre d'idées, regardons où les vrais avantages sont, parce qu'on peut mettre de côté la question d'argent. Et là, quand ils regardent le leadership environnemental, les investissements qu'on est en train de faire dans l'éducation, dans la santé, dans l'appui pour la classe moyenne à travers le pays, ils voient que le Canada est le bon endroit. Donc, on est en train de bâtir tout un écosystème et toute une vision pour l'avenir de notre pays où la croissance économique est ancrée dans notre leadership environnemental, nos investissements dans la classe moyenne, dans nos partenariats avec les peuples autochtones et de faire les bonnes choses de la bonne façon parce que de plus en plus, c'est ça que les clients et les compagnies à travers le monde exigent de plus en plus.
Merci, ça va mettre fin à la conférence de presse. Thank you very much. This will put a conclusion to the press conference.
Thank you very much.